you so much for coming. It's so good to see so many people I know, so many lovely people. Good to have you here. In advance, I'd like to thank our guests. They take time out of their schedule. They are very busy people, and they are really wonderful people. I got to meet each and every one of them and hang out multiple times, and they're really wonderful people. Thank you, Peter Kirn, Oliver Chesler, Steve Horelick, and Joshue Ott. They are fantastic. We're in for a treat. Very creative guys. Brilliant. You are soaking in Tekserve. Tekserve is a repair shop, and we are probably the oldest, I think definitely the oldest repair shop, Mac repair shop in New York. We're also the largest in New York. We're really the largest non-Apple Apple reseller in the world. Whether you're Fortune 1000 business or a single user with a wonky MacBook, we are here to help you. We are on Twitter, just to let you know. We're on Facebook, Tekserve. Hashtag Tekserve. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you our host. He's a hip-hop activist and media assassin. He writes about race, politics, and culture for Vibe, for The Source, for The Village Voice, amongst others, and he's been doing so for nearly 25 years. As an expert covering hip-hop culture, he's been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, in the New York Times, on National Public Radio, MTV, VH1, CNN, the BBC, and he's also well known for his association with the seminal band Public Enemy. He serves as an advisor to the Archives of African American Music and Culture at Indiana University, and as the host producer of the weekly show Nonfiction, which airs 2 p.m. Fridays over WBAI 99.5 FM in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Allen.
Good evening. My name is Harry Allen, and I'm really excited and honored to be here for the 5th Future of Music event here at Tekserve, the Honest Weights and Square Dealings Apple Specialist Store. My thanks to Paul for his introduction, Kevin Hart, and the entire team here at Tekserve. I always feel very much at home, and I'm sure you do too, when you come in here to either buy or have something repaired. This is a great store with great people, a really important heart of the Apple community here in New York, and so we're really thrilled to be here again. A lot's happened since Future of Music number 4 in 2009. For example, have you heard about this thing called the iPad? Kind of, sort of, huh? You remember that April 2010 morning when it was debuted. It seemed to less acclaimed than a seemingly endless stream of jokes about its name and its relation to a certain product, consumer product. But if you followed it, you noticed that there came a moment when you didn't hear any more joking. First there were jokes, and then the jokes stopped cold. That sound, that silence, was the sound of a dawning realization. It was users, musicians, and others realizing that what they had in their hand might be one of the most amazing computers ever built. Quickly, Apple fans certainly began to snatch up the device to the tune of nearly 15 million last year. And with the iPad in hand, users began to push the machine to the extremes of the app ecology with software that promised to redefine how we experience everything from business to games, education to design, and music. Because tonight, we're going to meet 4 musicians who are using the iPad to perform in new ways anywhere. We're going to see how the proliferation of the iPad and iApps has empowered amateurs and pros alike to be completely creative. Tonight, you're going to hear and see how our guests, Peter Kirn, Oliver Chesler, Steve Horelick, and Joshue Ott, perform live. You'll hear how you can use the tools they're using, whether you're an advanced musician or just getting started. And most of all, you're going to get a front row seat to the revolution. After this, nothing is going to be the same. This is the future of music. Number 5, the craft of iPad music making. So here's what's next. We're going to introduce our musicians and have them come out one at a time to the stage where they'll perform. Afterwards, we'll speak with them as a group regarding their tools, their techniques, and their secrets. And then comes the best part. This is the part I always like. When we hear from you, the audience, you get to ask your questions, express your concerns, make your complaints. We're here to satisfy you. This is your program. This is Tekserve. This is a neighborhood store where people come to learn about this cutting-edge technology, to get their questions answered, and to borrow a well-known quote from another retailer, an educated consumer is our best customers. So we are looking tonight to educate you and to inspire you. So without any further ado, let's bring out our first guest. This is Peter Kirn. He is a composer, musician, media artist, educator, technology writer, and the creator-editor of CreateDigitalMusic.com and CreateDigitalMotion.com. Peter's the author of Real World Digital Audio, a comprehensive book on producing music with computers and digital technology. He writes for Macworld, Make, Keyboard, and Computer Music magazines. And tonight, he's going to demonstrate how the iPad can work as an open source gear to make music via both touch and traditional hardware control. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Kirn.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
So that looks impressive. What are we going to hear tonight from you?
So I sort of represent the past of music, or at least some continuity to the past of music.
Okay.
Because what we have connecting this stuff here is MIDI, a technology that grew out of the late 70s and was unveiled in 1983. So using hardware called the MIDI mobilizer, which is a MIDI adapter, I take the 2010, 2011 iPad, translate into this language that's been the lingua franca of electronic music gear since the 80s, and I'm connecting tonight to our synthesizer, the MeBlip, which is an open source hackable synth designed by my friend James Graham in collaboration with my site. So now this piece could be anything, which makes it absolutely transparent that I'm kind of pitching my own gear. But it really could be anything. It could be gear that you found off of eBay. It could be something that you've used since 1985, and it could be the instruments that were introduced just a couple of weeks ago at the big music trade show, because this language, MIDI, has remained the same all the time.
For decades at this point.
So there's no sound coming out of the iPad. That's the important thing. No sound coming out of the iPad. All of the sound is coming out of this synthesizer. It's being entirely produced by this hardware, not by anything Apple, and then it's getting routed through Moog software on my old iPod Touch, old second generation iPod Touch, but that's just doing effects. All of the sound is coming from the synthesizer, so the iPad's place is actually just sending musical events, just sequencing musical patterns for that hardware.
This is all off the shelf. This is nothing besides. Is there any custom software here that you?
There is no custom software here, but there is a big community on my site that's talking about ways to do more custom software that would make that easier. But I'm not ready to show that yet. We'll use the off-the-shelf software, which is also really quite lovely.
Very cool. Well, let's see what you can do.
All right,
Peter Kirn. what is on the iPad right now? What is it we're looking at?
The app on the iPad is called Little MIDI Machine, and it is software that emulates hardware step sequencers. So even though it's a touchscreen, it has all of these virtual faders that control the pitch for each step, and then as you hit start, it just steps through each of these steps in this pattern. It's very much like, I had spent some time, was learning about electronic music technique, working with old Moog and Electrocomp and Buchla gear, and this is exactly how we work. So that part is even older than the other technology that's here. This is a design essentially from the 60s, transposed to this modern device.
So would that be very familiar to people who are familiar with those software protocols?
It would be very familiar to people who've worked with step sequencers before. This will look. This is not software you have to spend any time learning how to use. People see this and would immediately know how to use it.
Let me just ask you, why did you choose to work with something that old? What is there an artistic point you're seeking to make, or is it a proof of concept of some kind? Or
you meaning the step sequencer?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think the reason behind that, the reason behind using MIDI, I'm always trying to look for continuity. It's something that allows me to build on what I know, develop what I'm doing, rather than just kind of throw everything out and start over all the time.
Start over.
So this winds up being a very intuitive way, a very musical way of working with the pattern. It's partly this design that's a few decades old now, but it's also ideas that are very inherently musical to me and to a lot of other people, or it wouldn't have lasted, or you wouldn't do it just because it was old otherwise.
Peter, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to speaking with you a little bit later when the group is all up here.
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you very, very much. Okay. Next is Oliver Chesler, a.k.a. the Horrorist. Oliver Chesler is a native New Yorker, owner of the Things to Come records, and the editor of Wired to the Ear. His innovative electronic music is celebrated around the world. Many may remember him as the punk-style kid in D.A. Pennebaker's concert film 101, featuring, and somebody remembers that, yeah, Depeche Mode. British music critic Simon Reynolds once proclaimed him my favorite contemporary American singer-songwriter, which is high praise indeed. Oliver's going to present the best music-making and performance apps and show how to fit them into your workflow. Ladies and gentlemen, Oliver Chesler, a.k.a. the Horrorist, who, despite the fearsome name, is a really sweet-tempered guy, it seems.
Thank you. Everybody says that. It's still early.
Well, tell us, what are we going to hear tonight from you? What are you going to be doing?
In my studio, I'm still using a computer with Ableton, and when I perform live, I'm still using my MacBook. On the couch, I'm glued to this, and this is a lot of fun. The rest of it's really work. I'm just going to do what I do on the couch and show it to you, and I have a feeling after you hear all this, you're going to be like, oh, that's a lot of stuff.
So we're being actually invited into your living room right now.
Sure.
Wow. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm sending a signal. I don't know. That's my signal.
All right, I think that's it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is the iPad is going to be, it's an app called Voice Jam by TC Electronic, and it's a looper. But it's a special looper because it's a 360 looper, and later you'll see why that's really cool. And then the iPhone is going to be my sound source, multiple sound sources. So I'm going to start with a drum machine app called Tweaky Beat, which is basically like a Berlin minimal drum machine because it has a deep shuffle and random mode. So it's glitchy. So right now I've got a kick drum, and you see the red dots, and you can follow me along on some of these. But there's red dots for the kick. I'm going to put some yellow. Now I'm going to hit random on the yellow. And I can keep hitting that, but that sounds good, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to put a green dot, that little hook at the end. I'm going to randomize that. Okay, so that's all I want from this. Now I'm going to record that probably 4 bars into the looper. And all I do is just hit play and stop. So that's recording. 2. All right, so now they're both playing. I'm going to kill the iPhone. Now it's in the looper. Now the iPad just recorded that. Let's see if I got it good enough. Well, I'm a little off, but I'm going to keep it. If you could do it over and get that perfect. It's not going to matter for the demo. All right, So I'm getting a Twitter message. It says, next performance, Tekserve. Okay, guys, you don't have to be tweeting it right now. It's coming in on my phone. Thanks. Okay, close that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that loop, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 channels. I'm going to copy that over to another channel just by holding it and dragging. So that's fun. Okay, so now I've got it here, and I've got it on 1 and 2. Now I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to load up the Moog app. This is the same one Peter just used. This is one of the most fantastic apps. Now this is playing a noise sample, and it's got an analog delay emulation, so I'm going to play with the analog delay and record that in over my beat. So I'm going to hit record and play. And stop recording. Now, kill the mood. Now look, now on my looper, I've got the beat by itself, and I've got the beat with the mood. Okay, so I got 2 apps. Now I'm going to go to another channel, but I'm just going to copy the drum channel. Drag it over, and now I'm going to add, this is a vocoder app called iVoxel. I was going to do this live, but I was getting some feedback issues at home. So I recorded, I just used my mic into the iPhone, and I recorded a little sample. This is what it sounds like. Oh, let me turn it up. Body. It says, I want your body. Here we go again. I want your body. But what's cool is, I'm actually going to go into edit mode. So I double click that, edit, and here's that sample spread out over time. And now if I take my finger, and you can't do this on a computer. Check this out. So I can drag anywhere. Wait, but that's on everything. Now I'm going to record myself playing that into my looper. So check it out. Ready? I'm going to go to the top, hit record, and play. Now I'm not playing it anymore. Now the looper recorded that. So I've got 1 channel of drums, 1 of the vocoder and the drums, and 1 of the mood. Okay, now we're going to keep building. I'm going to do the same thing with some different apps real fast. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now layer 3 layers on here. So I'm going to drag that one with the vocoder, and I'm going to add some toms in this app called NN Mono. I keep talking into the camera like it's a microphone. Check. Okay, this is taking a little bit to load. Here we go. So this is a cool app. Just some toms. So I'm going to start recording when it gets to the top. Okay, we're getting to the top. Hit record and toms. So that's all there. I'm going to drag it over for another one. Let's add some more sounds to this. Okay. This is one of the cool, all right, let's throw in some police scanner. Yeah, I'm still doing it. I can't, this is totally. So this is going to get the Chicago Police Department scanner, and we're going to record that on here. So you can't do this, I don't know, let's see. So top 100 police scanner, Chicago Police. So here we go, Chicago Police. Let's wait a minute. Here, okay, so that's live. Okay, so, all right, so we're going to record that. Remember, wiredtotheear.com. Okay, so we're recording it. Okay. So, kill that. Okay, so now we've got a couple loops here. Oh, I see it's playing in the background, damn.
The city of Chicago has
okay, kill that. So now I've built a four loop, some are multi-layered, and we're going to do one last loop by itself because this is just really cool. You got to see this. This is my favorite iPhone app. It's called A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, the whole alphabet. Let's load it up. Okay, there it is. Now, what this does, it's going to play. We're going to do new. It's going to play. It's going to say the letters I drag into the center, and it's going to do it different ways. Gravity, crickets, vehicles, or birds. So let's do an A, gravity. Watch, listen to this. So as it's bouncing, it's going Let's do birds, and let's do a P. Okay, can you see what it's doing? And I could drag around. So back to the top. Let's do crickets, D. And let's do an S. And let's a vehicle, K. Okay, let's record that. Let's play with it. Okay, kill that. Now, here comes the best part. Okay, now we're ready. Now we've built up our track in like 5 minutes, had a lot of fun. There's a million apps you can, who knows what you can do. The cool thing is that because it's a 360 looper, when I jump to a different channel, it's not starting at the beginning. It's picking up at that exact moment. So the beat will always be where it is. So now we can play. See, I can glitch into another track. Thank you very much. All right, the names of the apps. This is, the looper is TC Electronic Voice Jam. The police scanner is called Scanner 911. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, whatever. The toms came from a cool synth app called NNN Mono. The drum machine was called Tweaky Beat. The Moog Philitron. And the vocoder was iVoxel. All awesome apps. I've got 1,000 more, so they're just unlimited playtime.
Did that give you 6 channels of control?
This gave me 6 channels, but I can keep layering them. And this is a fairly new app, and from what I hear, TC Electronic is adding a lot of features. Like one thing you noticed, I had to try and get it perfectly on the loop. They're going to, able to stretch. I mean, this thing is amazing. Like I can't even believe it.
I think we get it. Very cool. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Next is Steve Horelick. He's a composer, songwriter, and musical adventurer. That's what he calls himself. He creates live electronic soundtracks and scores for TV, film, and games. Steve's credits include everything from PBS's Reading Rainbow to HBO's When It Was a Game. His true passion, however, is live performance, and when he creates electronic music by utilizing algorithmically structured MIDI objects to create controlled random soundscapes. I'm guessing he's going to tell us exactly what that means in a moment, which he performs on a variety of instruments, including the iPad. Tonight he's going to share his advanced custom-built Logic environments, first now, then later with a special, unique performance for you, our Tekserve customers. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Horelick.
Hey, how are you?
Great. So what are we going to hear tonight?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the iPad, and it's a really cool program, if you can see it over there on the screen, called iTouch MIDI.
Well, let's get you over there so,
let me work my way over here.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm really into control surfaces. You know, I have the Ohm 64 that I use, and I collect control surfaces.
And by control surfaces, you mean anything that's...
Anything that will output MIDI, so I can control hardware synths or software synths.
Wonderful.
So that's what we have here on the iPad. This is a custom control surface that is, and I'll show you how I can construct it after I'm done playing it. But you can actually put the controls anywhere you want and then map them to control anything you want. And now we're talking about MIDI here. So we have your typical note ons and note offs and a couple of XY pads. And in this case, I'm taking it out of the iPad. It's coming in through this device called the MIDI mobilizer, which Peter was using. There aren't a whole lot of devices yet that turn iPad MIDI into MIDI that is recognizable by other devices, but the Line 6 MIDI mobilizer works. And by the way, keep your eyes open if you're into this stuff for another device that's going to be hitting the market called iConnect. I think that's what it is, right? iConnect MIDI. It's a box that will take multiple iPads, which is really, really cool, and other MIDI devices and act as a MIDI interface. So keep your eyes open for iConnect MIDI. So I have it coming out of here, and as you can see on the screen here, I'm using it to control Logic's Sculpture. And Sculpture is a modeling soft synth. And what's really great about Sculpture is that it likes really, really subtle control. If I was using, for instance, this keyboard over here, or even that keyboard, I couldn't get quite the subtlety that I can design using this wonderful interface that I created with iTouch MIDI. So this piece is me using the iPad to control a software synth.
Excellent. Steve Horelick.
Okay, cool. Here we go. You can turn off my mic, please.
Finally, Joshue Ott. Josh is both a musician and software developer who performs live cinematic audio-video improvisations. He works from hand-drawn forms manipulated in real time with a software instrument of his own design called SuperDraw. Josh has worked with musicians from a variety of genres. He's performed with the American Composers Orchestra at Carnegie Hall, and he's performed at venues throughout New York City, including Le Poisson Rouge and the Knitting Factory. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshue Ott.
Thank you.
So, Josh, tell us about SuperDraw.
SuperDraw is a I meant it to be a visual instrument, as opposed to a musical instrument, so that a painter or someone who's visually oriented could actually participate in a live jam or a musical experience, but
to add visuals to the
exactly
music process.
exactly. The program that I'm going to show tonight on the iPad is called Thicket.
Okay.
And Thicket was actually inspired by live performances that I've done with SuperDraw with a frequent collaborator of mine, Morgan Packard.
Now, is this also one of your apps?
Yeah, Thicket is my app. I made it. I programmed it with Morgan Packard. Morgan actually wrote the audio code for Thicket, so the sound you're going to be hearing was created by Morgan Packard, and the visuals that you'll see were created by me. And we worked together very closely on this to make an app. We weren't really trying to make an instrument.
Interesting.
We were going
You
for
you kind of made an instrument sideways, so to speak.
Yeah, we're going for more of an art toy or a game or something. We want to move in that direction rather than to make an instrument or to make something that you can set the BPM and have lots of sliders and stuff for. You'll see why in a second.
Excellent.
Can we shut this light off too? And yeah, we're gonna project the visuals behind me as well.
All right, cool.
And I guess I should be.
All right, so we'll let you do your thing.
Thank you.
Joshue Ott.
I'll get it started here. Okay, so audio. There we go. Okay. So the way Thicket works is it's a. I'm seeing it there too. Okay, cool. So it's a multi-touch. It's very multi-touch. So when I put my fingers on it, it will react sonically and visually. And you can use as many fingers as you want, and you can do all kinds of different things with your fingers. And what I'm going to show you tonight also is this is sort of the basic standard mode in Thicket. And what we've done is we've made the tilting of the pad actually control which mode you're in. And some of the modes that I'm going to be showing to you tonight you can buy this on the App Store right now, but some of the modes that I'm going to be showing you tonight they're like beta versions that are, this is a beta early version of some new things that we're working on. I'm very excited to show them to you, but they're not available just yet. This one actually is available. That's that mode. You can kind of sequence stuff in. It's got a step sequencer built into it. This is one of the new ones that's not commonly available yet. is another new one. This one I'm really excited about, actually. So that's Thicket. Thank you. No, the music is all being generated. Sorry, the music. This is generating all the music and the visuals and the audio and everything from this right now as I'm creating it. Nothing is pre-programmed or anything like that. I mean, the modes are obviously pre-programmed. They look different and behave differently, and each one has its own sort of form of interaction. But all of it is generative. It's all being generated on the fly. And there's actually very little sampling going on in this app. It's mostly either sine waves or very simple synthesis that's being combined in different novel ways. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause.
Thanks.
And why don't we have the rest of our musicians come up?
Test. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You just want to talk a little bit before
Peter,
we
be careful there.
I have the least stable stool.
You have to leave, before we go to the audience. I just want to talk a little bit. And I guess, first of all of you are playing music that is fairly abstract. Obviously, you're not using traditional means of registering sound or notes. To your thinking, what does the iPad, if anything, offer traditional musicians, those who are working with either traditional acoustic instruments or even, for lack of a better term, traditional electronic instruments?
Oh, I can answer that. It's easy. Inspiration. There's always going to be new things that you can draw on, new loves, new equipment. This is the new toy. Some people asked me a couple days ago, like, should I wait for the new iPad? I was like, well, if you want to waste 4 months of fun, go ahead, wait. Like it's here now. This is cool. Get your money's worth. So for me, it's inspiration. I mean, non-linear digital editing was like when you could skip around. Now you can go all around and touch it and fun.
Yeah, there's also a lot of stuff that we didn't show tonight, too. Depending, you're going to either be sold on this, we're not trying to sell the iPad, but you're going to be sold on the idea of these apps or not. And if you're sold on the idea of these apps, then you're likely to be sold on, you're already probably sold on the idea of certain kinds of electronic music expression. But there are also fake book apps. There are also guitar amp simulators. So we're seeing on the iPad the same gamut of different ideas about what a music software might be as we did on the computer. And I think that was the big question that we didn't know a year ago if that was going to happen, and it has absolutely happened. We're getting all of the same kind of range of software that we did then, not least of which the web browser. Yeah, and that's wide open.
Is this on? Oh, there we go. For me, it gives me a way to interact with pianists and guitarists and wind players that I didn't have before. There's so many different apps that you can get, and different apps you can use to control your own Logic or Pro Tools or whatever MIDI stuff that you're using, that gives you ways to interact that weren't possible, a year ago. And not to mention that, not just control. So many of the musical instrument apps are so cool. And I think for me, I love being able to interact with traditional instrumentalists with my new electronic tools.
Earlier in my introduction, I alluded to the breakthrough moment many users had with the iPad, where they realized the creative opportunities that it offered. What were yours? What was the moment where you realized that this could take you in a wholly different direction than you'd expected?
Well, I kind of came late to the iPad. I was trying to wait for the second generation. So I got mine in December, knowing that I had a bunch of live performances coming up, especially some in the Apple stores. I felt kind of obligated to play the iPad. What was surprising to me, and I think that's what your question was what surprised me the most were my ability to use it to create my own controllers. I wasn't even thinking of it that way. I started playing other people's apps, like Jordan Rudess's MorphWiz, for instance, which is a great app, and I'll be playing that one later. I'll show you that. But being able to design your own control surfaces, that to me is like almost becoming an instrument maker, right? You can go out and buy one of these hardware controllers, but someone already made the decision for you as to how they want you to use your fingers. When you can just move dials and faders and joysticks around on a somewhat small environment, I wish it was twice the size, suddenly it opens up creative avenues that I didn't think about before, because suddenly I can use my fingers in a different way.
Josh,
So,
I see you nodding in agreement with
Well,
what
yeah,
you're
I mean,
saying.
I would say that I would also, I would totally second that and say that as a control surface, like it's just fantastic. The hardware is so smooth and so good, like the touch recognition, the time that it takes sorry, I speak as a developer, like the time that it takes from your finger to hit the glass to the computer, understanding that that's happened, to you responding and making something happen orally or visually is very low, and that makes it fun. I mean, it makes it, you can do these amazing fun things with it, from control surfaces to games to to toys to and I think control surface is a huge word for traditional musicians, because you're right. I mean, you hook it up to anything via these MIDI devices, and it's amazing. It breathes new life into old hardware in that way, and it's pretty amazing.
to give you a sense of how powerful it is, what I'm doing now is I'm touching my computer screen, trying to move things around. Yeah. Seriously,
I do the same
I
thing.
reach out to my soft sense and I'm going, why isn't the knob turning? Being able to touch something is just the most powerful way to communicate musically.
Yeah, and I have to say that the win for me was kind of earlier. So I was kind of sold on the idea of the tablet, and not just me. I was sold because other people were sold. So 2004, I think, I was in Montana, and someone said, "You need to see my Windows tablet." And the reason that he did that was because he was a music educator, back to your earlier question. He needed something that he could carry around and use while he was teaching. And he needed something that could go on a music stand. Now, anyone who tried to use, even for a few minutes, those Windows tablets knows all of the things that were wrong with them, and there were many, many things wrong with them. But the form factor was there. We saw the Lemur, this music-specific multi-touch surface. That was about 2005. I got to review it, and I said, well, it's cool if only it was also the software, if it wasn't just the controller, if everything was in this one device. And I thought it was going to happen a lot faster. Technology is hard, and it doesn't happen as fast as people thought. Some people had this vision for the iPad in 1968. So it was really last year that we got the first mass market iteration of, I think, kind of what people were imagining.
Well, with that in mind, what would any of you say are still the obstacles? What would you say for those who want to create music with this device? What's still in the way, or still hard to do, or still difficult?
Well, on a friction. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I try to move my fingers across that glass,
Wow.
and it's like, whoa. So someone's got to invent like special cream for your fingers, right?
Yeah, actually,
Wouldn't that make it less? That would make it more slippery.
I need some special iPad Vaseline or something.
Oh, God.
But I
KY?
would say,
Anyone?
Anything anyone says next will be taken the wrong way. So
Exactly.
choose your words carefully.
Your turn.
well, I would say the thing that I as a control surface, the thing that I'm frustrated by is that I have to look at it. You know, if it's going to be a control surface, I can't like have my hand on it. Like you have to have your hand on it in the same position. You don't know that's a knob there. You can't feel that. It's just a flat piece of glass, and that
A lack of tact.
a lack of tactile
Yeah.
response, and that's sort of impossible with this kind of technology. But it is a barrier in some ways because you're forced to be looking at this thing all the time.
Have you guys seen the game controller that suction cups to your iPad?
yeah, it's like a little clear thing.
It's a little clear thing. I forget the name of it. I almost brought it.
Yeah, I think you can actually make your own by putting metal on the bottom of an
Is
object.
that what it is?
I
And you
have
can
to try it
actually
out.
like suddenly touch something and move it around, and it snaps back to the middle. And I haven't tried it yet because I just got it at Macworld.
This is the kind of peripheral that someone's come up with to add this kind
well,
of haptic thing
it's
to
for
it.
game guys who want like joysticks, and it's actually it sits above the iPad, and you can like it's a little button that you move around, and it.
Where is this going? What would you say is the future? It seems to be all going so fast, and I'm sure there's more stuff coming out that we can't even really imagine quite yet, especially with the next iteration of the machine. Where do you see it going, or where would you like to see it go as music makers with this device?
In terms of the Mac, I'd like to have a 27-inch iMac iPad. I mean, I want 27
big
inches.
display that you can touch.
Big display.
Yeah, they need to put this in a big.
Get rid of the
30 inch
keyboard
thing.
altogether. You don't need it anymore. It's just kind of a.
Treated like
Oh,
they
and
did
the program
like they did
ID?
the floppy
well,
drive years ago.
But I want to be able to touch my soft synths and make controls, or touch a button and bring up a special controller and then touch what I want it to control and do it. And I just want to touch.
Something tells me that's on the way, though, I'm thinking. Well, now's your chance to touch our panel. You've been very patient with your questions. Let's give them a round of applause. And we want to hear what your experiences have been as music makers or people who are curious about this technology. Whatever questions you have, let's take them right now. And I see a hand right there. So we'll go to that gentleman as soon as we get a mic your way so that everyone can hear you.
There we go. That's
Wonderful.
easy. In relation to this idea of larger space, do you see the possibility of mating several iPads together so you could actually have multiple surfaces that are, like you would have monitors where you could travel from one to the other? Do you see the possibility of increasing the size now?
Great question. Yes.
I'm excited about that as a developer. I mean, one of the things that I want to add to Thicket is a multi-user mode where they're actually talking to. I had something in there this summer, but Morgan convinced me not to release it. But yeah, like where you can actually share a space. I'm really excited about that as an artist and a developer is to be able to have these devices actually talking to each other, and a shared surface where what you do is it can go on to your neighbors, and like to have you guys all participating with me as I play. That kind
of
amazing.
collaboration is something musicians really, really feel naturally, I think, and really want.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, also the idea of democratizing performance. It's a scary thing in some ways because sometimes you want to do something very specific, but sometimes it's appropriate and can be really, really fantastically cool. So.
Excellent question. Any more? I see a hand there in the middle. If we can get a mic to that gentleman right there.
Is there a way yet to sort of make the iPad be both the engine and the controller? Like I saw you guys were all using like an iPod Touch or something to be the sound source, but is there a way to make it all in one?
That's actually my biggest problem. That's why it's not my studio machine. It is like, it's good and it's bad. It's good. I like it because the size is fine, that it's a single one, that it's fine, that it's a single app. That is cool because it's a lot of focus. You can really have fun with that. But that is the missing layer. It's not a DAW. It's not a sequencer. You have to attach one to the other.
Right, but the iPad can be the sound source. So you just have to remember that you don't have a Core 2 Duo living in there. You have a slower mobile ARM processor. It's capable of a lot. Even the first generation iPhones are actually capable of a lot. Maybe not a lot of polyphony, but if you can handle fewer voices, there's all kinds of processing and things that you can do. We were all, I mean, I remember performing on a 400 G4. I remember performing on things slower than that. It's kind of, that was the first time that I started taking laptops out live. But so, I mean, this is not so different from that ballpark. You can do a lot.
Yeah, there are there are a lot of apps that are full sequencer MPCs. There's a ton of them. I have them all. I don't use them because it's too small. I want to, I'd rather, if I'm going to do that kind of meticulous editing and placing things on and arranging a 4-minute song, I want to do that on a larger screen. I want more precision. They will get there. The interface will get there. They'll, and the thing about a larger size is when it gets lighter. I think they'll have it.
So what would you say, Oliver? What does those apps? What do they offer? The ones that you don't use anymore, what do they actually offer a user?
There are people that swear by them, that they sit there and they make complete tracks on them. I mean, and you might fall in love with that. I don't know. I mean, it's just not my way of working. Like I need to, when I'm writing a song with like a verse, chorus, I need to get it out fast, like the whole song, and then later I mess around with it. And it's just not fast. I can't get that in fast enough. That's what I love about what I did tonight, because it was fast. And I'll take something like that and put it into Ableton and then work with it there,
Right, and that's also kind of, it's a reflection on the user, not just the technology. If you were stuck on a desert island with the iPad, you could produce an entire album. I mean, that's not a problem. For the same reason that the computers that we have now are not the computers that we had 10 years ago or 20 years ago and we made music. There are people who will, one of my friends is a plugin developer, is making music with his Apple II as his MIDI sequencer. So you have options. It's kind of, that's more about the user, the human, than the computer or the iPad.
I find myself remembering Wendy Carlos's creation of one of my favorite albums, Switched on Bach, and then reading that it had been produced one note at a time, literally, like literally one note at a time. So I guess it's really, and this is a theme here at the Future of Musics, that ultimately it still goes back to the creative person and how determined they are to make something or see something come into existence. And these tools are supposed to work with you, but really the goal is to create a way of working that allows you to be maximally expressive, whatever that is for you. Would you'd agree, I take it?
Oh, totally. And there's a lot of apps out there that you can quickly get something really nice out of, even if you don't have a lot of finger technique. However, you put that same app in front of a master player, and that person elevates that same app to a whole different level. So what's really cool about it, it's kind of democratizing music in a lot of ways. If you're not real nimble, you can still get some really interesting things going on there. And if you are really nimble, you can take it to a level that will surprise you and delight you.
And cats love it too.
And babies.
And babies. Yes, right there. That
to get back to this gentleman's question, which I think this might answer. I got this recently. I also like Control. I don't really like the touchscreen as much as other people.
Cool.
But
what is that device?
This is called the Akai Synth Station 25. And what it does is the iPhone actually plugs into it and becomes the controller and the hardware itself. No computer, no anything, just the iPad. What I wanted to do tonight was actually get a dock extension, because this has the male output or input here, and attach it to my iPad, which is just a wire that would actually go into this dock, connect to the iPad.
That is crazy.
And you have complete freedom.
It just lifts in and
it lifts right in and out.
Amazing. How much does something like that cost?
$100. That's it.
Wow.
They just came out with one, a larger bigger one for the iPad.
Oh, really? Great, great.
What are your thoughts on devices like these?
It's cool. I mean, if you're a keyboard player and you play piano, that's better than playing it on the glass for sure. It's a toy. It's awesome.
With that device, can you address the screen and the keyboard at the same time? Is that possible, or?
Yeah, you actually can. You can. They have a drum machine on it. You can actually use the pad to play the drums as well as play the keyboard at the same time to get your synth. So you can use this as two instruments at once.
Okay, quit upstaging us. Okay, thank you very much. That's cool. That's really cool. Thank you. Thank you for showing that. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So see, this is a community. Yes, that gentleman right behind the one who just spoke in the I think it's a red shirt, glasses. Yes.
Hey. So obviously the iPad came out in 2010. One of the other big developments technology-wise in 2010 was the Kinect. I don't know if you guys have been following the story with the the M-Box peripheral. But there's been a huge community that's built up around it that's hacking it, sort of backward engineering it, and doing their own sort of creative, fun stuff with it. I'm curious what you guys think is what the future of Music 6 will hold, and if it has anything to do with the Kinect.
That's a great question, and also if you could just address the role of hacking these tools in creating music.
Future of the future. What's the
future?
The future of the future of the
well,
future?
there's a lot of devices out there that are, well, not a lot. There's a few devices that allow you to create music in three-dimensional space. The Kinect, I think, has some real.
You mean
potential.
like a theremin kind of?
No, you can divide the space into different areas and touch. Just wave a wand here. There's anyone here of Donald Buchla, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Donald Buchla has something called the Lightning, which is 2 wands. You can divide the space in front of you, I believe, into 8 separate sections, each one a separate MIDI channel with multiple polyphony. And
to interrupt you, not to cut you off, please, but is anyone doing anything with the iPad and the Kinect? Well, you just said that the Xbox Kinect is what you're speaking about, right?
Sorry, I said Xbox.
Yeah.
No,
and is that what you're talking about?
No. This is it's just the concept of being able to control things by just moving your hands in space. I mean, that's like being the ultimate conductor. For me, I would love that.
So, have any of you looked into the Xbox Kinect as a peripheral or an input device or anything?
Input device, yeah. My SuperDraw program, I use a ton of different controllers and I experiment with them all the time. And being able to add physicality to what you're doing is a very natural thing as a musician or as a visualist or to dance. I mean, it's a form of expression as humans that I think we all of us, whether you're a good dancer or a bad dancer, that is a form of expression that the Kinect kind of brings out.
And does everyone know what the Kinect is?
The Kinect it's an IR camera system like peripheral. It's like this. It's this elongated.
It's just this 3D
bar.
camera.
Yeah, it's a 3D camera.
Depth sensing camera.
Yeah, depth sensing camera.
And a whole bunch of tricks.
A whole bunch of tricks. It uses like a projected. Structured light.
You may have seen it in the commercials. It's a peripheral that goes with the Xbox, and in the commercials they show people controlling things on the screen by actually dancing or moving. It's like what the Wii did, but the Wii you actually had to hold these devices in your hand. With the Kinect, you're just moving physically. You are the controller is their slogan exactly. And so it seems that a number of musicians and other creatives are using this device, kind of hacking it and using it for other things for which it was not intended. It was intended to control objects on the screen in the Xbox, video games, but it seems that the option of connecting it to an iPad or other devices to create a really three-dimensional space for the creation of what you guys are doing here tonight sounds like a really possible kind of thing
Yeah, well, it becomes another control system. I mean, this is a great control surface. The Kinect can be a great control surface, and you can hook it up to anything. We could hook a Kinect up to MeBlip and get some crazy stuff, I think.
And is anyone doing anything in the app world to take advantage of this of that peripheral to
I
your
don't
knowledge?
think there's not a way to. Well, you would have to have a computer in between, so you don't have a way of connecting Kinect to the iPad.
There is an app for the Mac app for the Kinect.
Oh yeah, so the hackers have worked on Mac and Windows and Linux, so you can connect to all of those. This kind of back to the question of hacking. This gets to a limitation of the iPad, which is that you don't have the kind of access to it that you have to a desktop computer. You actually don't have the Android. The keyword openness keeps coming up, but you have even less access to hardware on Android right now. So you can't do that. You have to have a computer in between. Once the computer's in between, you can do anything you want. But the iPad can't connect to Kinect like a computer can. But I mean, back to the original question, this pulls both ways. It's exciting. It allows you to try new forms of expression. just like anything else, it creates problems along with those opportunities. It makes the problem we were describing of lacking tactile feedback worse because you have no touch at all. And musicians started to figure this out a long time ago when they first tried to play the theremin. And you realize even though you have fantastic control over your body and you know where your body is, that means finding pitch with your body can be challenging. So it's exciting and challenging all at once. And I think that's why having an open source community is so important. Hacking maybe is not such a good word as sharing. What open stuff allows you to do is share solutions. The famous open source quote is the idea of standing on each other's, I hope I don't screw this up, standing on each other's shoulders instead of stepping on each other's toes. I'm maybe getting that wrong. It's the problem when you're in a blog, you can like Google stuff and you're 10 times smarter.
What information sources do you like? What places or communities do you guys like to go to share information about how to approach the iPad as a music device?
CreateDigitalMusic.com, of course.
Okay.
And WireToTheEar.com.
I second both of those.
Yeah,
and
I actually
maybe
really like
MacProAudio.com.
MacProVideo.com.
MacProVideo.com.
Yes.
Excellent.
Some fans, awesome.
Let's take another question. Yes, you right there, that gentleman right there near the front. You can get the mic that way.
I saw you use the Touch OSC. I use Touch OSC as well, right?
Actually, no, I wasn't using Touch OSC. I was using a program called Touch MIDI.
Oh, Touch MIDI.
Yes.
I use Touch OSC, and I connect to the Wi-Fi. And I don't know how reliable is the Wi-Fi, or how do you guys connect?
I wanted to play wirelessly tonight. But even if you set up a private network, everyone who has an iDevice or a mobile device in this room can still interrupt a signal of a private network because they share a certain bandwidth. So I wasn't feeling brave enough to try it tonight. It works great at home, right? When when no one's around, or even when we're watching cable TV. But yeah, it's an issue. I haven't figured out the solution for it yet, so I'm tethered via a black cable to my computer at the moment.
All right, thank you.
Let's take a couple of more questions. I see a couple of hands actually, right there near the fish tank.
Hey, so I guess my question is, would say a band like Daft Punk showing up in a major movie like Tron, and the Gorillaz just recently releasing the first iPad-only created album. I'm personally a teacher. How do you think that's going to affect kind of the next generation coming up, as far as as opposed to getting like $99 guitar versus moving into kind of electric music?
Especially as you have kids who grew up who are used to these devices, they don't see anything magical about them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Buy Apple stock. Keep buying.
I guess another part of that would be, how does this kind of come into effect of the Guitar Hero games making a huge, input?
Oh yeah, you just brought up a good point.
That's an interesting question.
The Kinect, we all were in danger of permanent crazy air guitar stuff from that. So the future Music 6 might just be air guitar.
Well, I think a major. I think what's interesting about what's happening right now in music publishing and all of these things is how popular like Guitar Hero and releasing music in an interactive form is so much more compelling to people because they feel like they're part of it, and I'm very excited about that. As a developer and as someone that's doing this, I mean, we kind of consider Thicket as a almost like a proto album in some ways. It's it's visual and it's audio, but it's also not, you can't do anything you want with it. It's not super versatile. It's supposed to be narrow. It's supposed to sound a certain way, and so it's not the end of that. I mean, I think we're still working on it. We're constantly updating it. But I think that idea of releasing interactive albums and Hans Zimmer, the Inception soundtrack, he just released a free app called the Inception app, I guess. I don't remember what.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
RJDJ is what's underneath.
Yeah, and
what does it do?
It's the soundtrack. It's how you get the Inception soundtrack, and what it does is you do different things. Like you go into a noisy environment and it shifts into the noisy mode. And you go into, you listen to it at night and it goes into the night. It uses the sensors of the device to sort of determine what mode you go into and what section of the soundtrack you hear.
Wow.
So it's a really interesting way of release. I was really excited by this, like as an interesting way of releasing an album, because I don't think there is an Inception soundtrack that you can buy on a CD. I think that's it.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think instruments are safe. Singing is safe. We could sing, actually, with your jam if you want. I don't know what we all sing, but instruments and singing are safe. People will keep doing them. It's not, you can record with these apps. You can use them as guitar amp simulators. Hey, I wouldn't complain if suddenly everybody decided that they liked electronic music and started reading my site or something. But but I wouldn't want that to happen. People will play banjos, and people will be stubbornly resistant about platforms. There is never a platform that wins because musicians are independent-minded and stubborn, and they're creatures of habit, and they're rebellious. So if someone says the iPad is the next big thing, someone else says, fine, I'm going to go and use the Commodore 64. And then someone else says, well, the Commodore 64 is totally over now. That was big last year, so I'm using a particle accelerator to make my music. So it's safe.
A particle accelerator connected to a speak and spell.
Actually, someone has made particle accelerator music, so I can't even come up with an impossible example.
We think of these iPads as the future of music, but it's really just tipping your little toe into the future of music. It's almost the same to me as when someone first invented the drum, right? Going back, tens of thousands of years. This instrument, or this concept of touch playing and playing software, is going to grow into places I don't think any of us in this room can really imagine. And perhaps the great musicians of the future will be able to learn and practice for hours in their practice rooms to become the masters of whatever this instrument's going to become in the future.
Let's give a round of applause to our panel. Peter Kirn, Steve Horelick, Joshue Ott, and Olive Chesler. And before we dismiss tonight, I believe, Steve, you're going to lead off in a final kind of ambient charge to us.
It's a cool little piece called Echoes of a Dream. It's all of the notes and music is created algorithmically inside of Logic. No notes are in Logic's arrange page, and I've taught Logic how to be kind of my playing partner. And it's going to take me a little while to boot it up. So,
well, while he's doing so, I just want to thank all of you for your attention and for your patience and for being here again for Future of Music number 5. Thank you for also subscribing to the mailing list. Tekserve is a company that's always educating its clientele. Many of you have probably sampled other instructionals or tutorials here at the store. There's always something going on here at Tekserve. It's a very lively place, as well as being a company full of very friendly and very helpful people. I know certainly when it's time for me every so often to have my computer looked at, Tekserve is one of those places that when it's time to have your Mac looked at, you don't kind of dread going down there. You're going to be sure that people are going to treat you well, and you're going to get a good price and get good work done. So we just want to certainly give a round of applause to the people here who make all that possible. Really a very, very nice group of people. Again, my name is Harry Allen. You can hear me on my radio show Nonfiction on Fridays at 2 on WBAI 99.5 FM, where we talk about the world of the arts, ideas, and fact. You can follow me on Twitter, @Harry Allen. And, of course, my blog, Media Assassin, is at harryallen.info. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. This has been really great and really an honor to kind of be part of this introduction of this way of communicating to the Tekserve clientele audience and to all of those in the surrounding area. Why don't we call this Tekserve in blue or something like that?
So if you want to look at the screen, can you show the screen here a little bit? Okay. This tune is called Echoes of a Dream. It kind of falls in the category of minimalism. What I've done is created algorithms in Logic using Logic's environment to make musical choices. Of course, I'm telling it what notes it's allowed to play and how often it's allowed to play them, but I never know exactly what notes are going to come out. So it's kind of like jazz in a lot of ways, playing with another person. So it starts out very tonal. I'm using this really cool app called MorphWiz by Jordan Rudess. Am I on here? It's really fun to play. I need more volume though. That's awfully low. Can you get me some more level? Not on my mic. This is a wonderful multi-touch app that you can tune it to any scale you want. You can tell it to round to new notes or to lock into pitches. For instance, if I just push my finger down, it's going to lock into notes that I've allowed it to do, and it will slide into them also. Okay, so this piece starts out with me improvising with Logic, and then it's going to go into this kind of crazy period where I've invited my friends my crazy friends to play along. We've never done this before, so we'll see what happens. You can turn off this mic, please.